Eckhart Tolle said this about the ego. As long as the ego runs your life, most of your thoughts, emotions, and actions arise from fear. Boom. That's a good one. And that's true. And I've had some experiences of that recently in my life, and I want to share those with you. Hi, I'm Tim Welch. This is Selfless Awakening, my Instagram and YouTube account where I like to share about all of these mindfulness techniques, these mindfulness insights that are out there readily available for us on YouTube for free. There's so many amazing teachers out there sharing so many incredible things that we can try to help ourselves feel better, feel peaceful, end suffering, manifest the lives we want. There's so much good stuff out there. And I like to talk about those things because I've had so many amazing experiences from working with these teachers' teachings and applying them to myself and sharing insights. So that's what this channel's about. If you like what I'm talking about, subscribe on YouTube, click the little notification, or if you're on Instagram, hi, follow me, leave comments. I love it when you guys leave things to say. It feels awesome. So, okay, now, ego. Let's talk about ego. I had a big egoic experience over the last, it was growing and then it popped on Monday. And I just want to talk a little bit about that, okay? But first I just want to talk a little bit about ego and what I mean by ego. For those of you that might be watching this that are like, I don't know even what you mean by ego, like what, you have a big ego or something, you know? Like in the real world, we've used the word ego to be like, oh, he's got a big ego, he's cocky, or oh, you need to have a healthy ego, you got to believe in yourself. Like it kind of is somehow tied to sense of self-worth or something like that. And that's not how Eckhart Tolle is talking about ego in this quote here. Eckhart Tolle, the way that he refers to ego, he talks about it as your false sense of self, your false sense of identity. In Buddhism, it would be your little self, not your higher self. And here's kind of how I like to break it down. Another way I like to explain it is this way. Imagine that your life is like a video game, and your personality is your avatar in the video game. Like, that's more the way that Eckhart Tolle is talking about it. You're not the avatar in the video game. You're the awareness of the avatar. You're the watcher of the avatar, but you're not the avatar. For instance, I'm not Tim. I am the constant, non-physical whatever that sits behind it that can watch that. Like, I can sit and be present and be aware of the space around the camera, as well as aware of the voice in my head. What's it saying, right? You can become present to that. If you can become present to the voice in your head, that means you are not the voice in your head. You're whatever is watching that, right? So Eckhart Tolle, when he talks about ego, he's talking about that, the voice in the head which is named Tim, the voice in the head which has collected the label of being a dad, the Tim who is a musician and a vocal instructor and an entrepreneur, whatever. Like, all of those labels make up the avatar Tim. And that's what Eckhart Tolle is talking about, the ego. It's the false sense of self. I'm not Tim. I could have amnesia and forget who Tim is completely, and whatever is actually me is still going to be witnessing, right? So when he talks about ego, he's talking about it in that way. And what happens is, fear gets really wrapped up in this guy, okay? And I want to talk about how that works. Like, what happens is, every time we add a label onto this idea of ourselves, Tim, let's say, well, for instance, like, Tim is a vocal instructor, Tim is a dad, Tim has abundance of money, right? I add these things on. As soon as one of these gets threatened to potentially be lost, or my awareness starts perceiving that one of these labels that has become a part of the avatar definition of me gets threatened, what happens is fear kicks in, okay? So like, if all of a sudden I'm a vocal instructor, let's say I blew out my voice and I damaged my voice, fear would kick in. I would be afraid that I would lose my label of being a vocal instructor. And that would scare the shit out of me. And then the ego starts going crazy. Like, that's how it works. The ego doesn't like to lose its labels. It wants more. It always wants more labels, but it doesn't want to lose the ones it has. And when it loses one of the ones it has, shit hits the fan, okay? And that's what happened with me. It came to a head on Monday, and I want to share a story about it. I talk about mindfulness and I do coachings and stuff like that, but that's not my main gig. I'm an entrepreneur, and as I mentioned, I'm a vocal instructor. So I teach singing, but I've been doing this for 15 years, and I'm really good at it. I've gotten really good at it, and so many people have come for so many years, and I started to train other singers on how to become instructors, and started a business like that. And so now I train other singers how to be voice teachers like me, help them build their business. I hire them to teach the vocal method that I have. And so I'm scaling a business, I'm franchising, and it's been going really well as far as growth is concerned. Every year it's been more and more teachers, more students. And I didn't realize how much my ego, the Tim avatar, had become attached to the idea of the growth. Tim, and this is how it works, the egoic structure of Tim got attached to the label of Tim is a successful entrepreneur who has a business that is constantly growing. So what happened was, I came to realize over the last few weeks we've had a little bit less growth. We still have growth, but we don't have, like in the late spring and early summer, we've had growth like I've never experienced with the business. Like every couple of days, more students, like so many new students starting. It was an incredible wave of new clients coming in that I just got used to that as being normal. And now over the last couple of weeks, there's been a lessening of that. And that label of my ego, the one that Tim has a constantly growing new students every single day business, is threatened. So fear kicked in. Fear kicked in at the thought of the loss of that label. And the way that it worked was, I noticed, a few weeks ago, I noticed that I was like, this week we didn't really get that many more emails for clients. And I noticed that it started then. It was just like a little low hum. The fear was just this little buzz. And then it grew, then it was a little more, then it was a little more. And then now it's 2 weeks in, 2.5 weeks in, and it's still been a little bit less growth. And my ego went, ah! And it came to a head, and my spiritual partner, Jesse, and I, every, I don't know, few weeks, month, whatever, we have a really deep, I hate to use the word ceremony, but a practice where we sit down and we really look at stuff, we get mindful, we listen to mindfulness music, we meditate for a long time, we do a lot of self-examination, we look at what's surfacing. And it was in that moment on Monday that we were doing that whoa, boom, I saw the fear, I saw the egoic attachment, and I saw how the fear that was coming out of this was going to start to do some shit that I didn't want to do. And that's a pattern in me. I've noticed that this happens before. I've manifested a lot of wasted money. I've wasted a lot of money and time on following fear as a motivator, getting me to do shit, as opposed to intuitive guidance. And that's the pattern that was exposed in me when I witnessed this, was that what I do is I get afraid that the business is not growing enough. I go spend money doing a lot of shit that doesn't work because it's out of ego, it's out of fear. Then I go, oh, that was out of ego and fear. Oh, spirit just wanted me to do this. Intuitive guidance wanted me to do this. Do that instead. Like that's kind of how it works for me, is like I get caught in this loop of doing that. And this is a moment, this is the first time I'm going to go, boop, I'm going to step out, and I'm not going to make decisions from ego, from this idea of my business diminishing, right? And it's an incredible insight to have. And so what I do in the morning now is I'm meditating, and I say, universe, I surrender this to you. This is your business. I allow it to grow through your intuitive guidance. I surrender these ideas to you. If you have something you would like me to do to help the growth of the business, I give it to you. I'm at peace with where we are now. So, I start doing this kind of work, and I feel an incredible internal shift inside. And I feel very clear that I'm not going to try to fill this hole, this egoic label that's being threatened. I'm not going to try to fill it by doing fearful things. I'm going to surrender and allow it to be there. I am abundance. I have abundance. I have everything I need. I don't need to frantically grow the business. The business is growing not because of me. The business is growing because of intuition pulling the growth through me. That's how it works. Every time I've done something from ego, it crumbles. Like, that's just been my experience. And now I have the opportunity to step out of that. And one other thing that I want to say about it that really has helped is seeing the highest purpose for what you're doing. And that really puts it all in check, because the ego is afraid of kind of shitty stuff. Like, the ego is afraid of growth because it's not because of the true, pure motivation of, I want to be of service to others. I love helping people sing. I love helping people find their voices. I love unlocking the voice. Like, that's what I love to do. And I see people light up, and people have great transcendent self-awareness experiences when they do this work of singing. That wasn't my motivation. That's not my motivation when I'm afraid of growth, when I have fear of, oh, we're getting smaller, something's wrong. That's not me being pure. That's not me being in that truly surrendered universe. I'm here to be of service to others through the business. That's not from that high, pure, beautiful place. That's from a place of fear. So now the next step is looking at the growth from a place of the intuitive guidance of universe. What's the next steps for the business? What's the next steps? How can we be of service to more people? What is the next right step? I'm thankful to have so many people that we're of service to right now. What's the next step? What would love have me do instead of fear? Boom, that's a big one. What would love have me do instead of fear here? And in having the pure focus, when you have that pure focus for what you're doing, that egoless focus for what you're doing, of being of service to others with whatever you're doing, it puts everything else in perspective, and it diminishes your ego's hold on you. This isn't about me being able to tell everybody about how much we're growing. This isn't about that ego. Oh, we're doing great. We're so successful. This isn't about that at all. This is about me feeling the joy of the experience of being of service to others. The money's there. The money's always been there. The money will always be there. There will always be enough. There's always enough. And that's the truth. And so fear likes to think that it won't. Fear likes to go, we're not growing enough. What am I going to do? We're not going to have enough money for my daughter's college. How am I going to afford it? What if we stop growing? Then we're going to never, That's not following intuitive guidance. Intuitive guidance will take you all sorts of places, But following intuition as opposed to fear, that's the name of the game. And I feel so released from that fear now. I feel so excited. I feel so charged. I feel so inspired and redirected and realigned with my life's purpose and the purpose for the business, that what a beautiful unraveling and experience. And I just wanted to share that with you all. Following this path, following this stuff, doing this practice, it doesn't mean that things won't come up. It doesn't mean that you'll transcend this instantly, And maybe we never will. Maybe I'll always have egoic things to release. I'm at peace with that if that's the process. It may be that it lessens and lessens. I do have to say it lessens. Like, it's very rare now that I have these things come up, but they do. And when they do, I like to share about them. So I hope that's of service to you. Don't follow your ego. Look at your fear. Look at what your fear is doing. Your fear is usually attached to the loss of some egoic label, some egoic thing that, some false sense of self. Get into your true sense of self, ask for guidance, surrender whatever you're doing over to the guidance of the universe. That's the plan. That's how I do it. It's working for me. Feel great. Hope this helps. Have a beautiful morning. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Sending you all lots of love. Cheers.